All right, I took a long break from this Survive the Night game, but I figured let's just resume it. I've made a lot of progress on this game, and I do want to kind of pivot a little bit of how the game works. Right now, it's kind of like a round-based survival game, but after playing a decent amount of RuneScape, I feel like I could probably make this a little bit more complex, especially now since we have more powerful AI agents, where I can make this into a MMO RPG type of game. Now, we'll see how well this goes, but basically what I want to do is when you start playing the game, I want to be able to have like a fixed town in the center, and then you have to kind of go off and explore and do like dungeon raids or something, which is basically you fighting other zombies and leveling up, and then those zombies can drop loot. You can take that loot, go back and sell it to the trader here, or maybe eventually get some type of in-game exchange auction system, which might be pretty cool. But in order to achieve a RPG type of feel, we're going to need to have the ability to kill things and level up and get experience. And after doing that, we need to persist the experience to the user's account. So right now, the game can be played without logging in or signing up. So I do think we do need to pivot on that a little bit. I want to make sure that a player cannot join the game unless they've actually registered and signed up and they're signed in. Because eventually I want to make sure that all of the character's assets are saved through the database. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just kick this off in a plan mode with Composer Too Fast. And I haven't actually, looked at the database in a while, so I'm not really sure how that kind of works, like what schemas I currently have. I do know you can log in and it kind of saves like your leaderboard. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and kick that one off. And then the second prompt I want to kick off at this point is the ability to basically track experience. So I'm going to go ahead and just do another plan here. Not sure why that closed out. Let's see. Let's go over here to this one. I'll make another one. I want the user to gain experience every time they kill a zombie. Can you implement a system which persists that on the server side to the Postgres database every time that a user gets a kill, so that when they reload the game, they have persisted experience that shows up in their UI? Also show the level of the player on the bottom left of the screen and show an experience bar, so they know how much more experience they need to gain before they level up. Create a breakdown level up chart which progressively increases in difficulty, and make it so a user has to kill at least 5 zombies to get to level 2, and make sure that they start at level 1. Okay, so we'll have this other plan running as well, and we'll kick that one off. Let's go over here. It's asking a couple of questions. For local development, should the game server allow connections without a valid game auth token? Allow unauthenticated. What is this? I don't know what this is. Always mirror production. No anonymous bypass. Yeah, I'm going to say like always require sign in. It's fine. I'd rather not have a bunch of random like branching logic in my local code versus production code, which increases complexity and maintainability of your project. If you can keep it as close to as possible to using the actual like code paths that work in production, it's just easier to maintain. All right, so let's just try kick this one off, and we will look at the plan real quick just to make sure. So we do have better auth set up. So when a user tries to log in, it's using better auth. We get a game token, and when you connect to the game server, I believe it uses that game token, it validates it, and then we should be able to start persisting their information, I believe. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just go ahead and build that out, and then also I'm going to go to the other running terminal and look through this one. So 5 experience per zombie, level 1 at 0 XP. Reaching level 2 requires 5 total EXP. Oh, sorry, 1 XP for killing a zombie. Okay. We'll have to kind of pivot, change this a little bit as we kind of figure out what a good playability is. Maybe 10 zombies might be better. But the thing I'm curious about is add experience to the user stats in schema. So it looks like we already have a user stats column because we're tracking, I think we're tracking something already, user stats. We are already tracking how many kills they've had, how many waves they've completed, max waves. So these are other things that we're going to have to prompt it to remove, like how many waves and max wave. Those can go away. So we can actually kick this one off as well. And then I will kick off another prompt and just put those things. I need you to go ahead and go through my whole code base and remove where we track max waves and number of zombies killed. Actually, I don't think it was number of zombies killed. I think it was waves completed. because there's no wave system. Also double check that throughout the code base there is no remaining wave system code. Go ahead and clean that up if there is, because we do not have waves in this code base anymore. Kick off a prompt there. We can go back. All right, so that one's still running. This one is also still running. Not sure if they're going to step on each other's toes, but now we have 3 concurrent agents kind of running, building out the game. But let's try to think if there's anything else we could think of. I noticed that when the map loads, there's no idle zombies that randomly spawn throughout the map. I want to make sure that we at least have... actually, what I'm going to do is typically with an RPG game, you have specified spawn points where on a timer, it'll spawn enemies, right? So maybe every minute or every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes, I want to spawn zombies at certain points. I want you to enhance the current map manager so that when we create the map, I want you to randomly pick out a couple of spawn points on eligible tiles, which will consistently spawn zombies if they haven't been spawned there. So you need to track if that spawn point has already spawned a zombie. And if that zombie is still alive, do not spawn any more zombies. But the player were to kill that zombie, I want you to kick off a timer so that you can spawn the next zombie. I want you to spawn zombies every 3 minutes so that a player is able to go around the map and level up by killing zombies and kind of waiting for them to respawn. Okay, so we'll kind of see how this one works. We'll kick off that plan. This one is still running. This one looks like it's done with the plan. So remove waves and wave stats across the code base. It looks like there's a bunch of stuff everywhere. We got the kill tracker, wave runtime still exists. Protocol shared, client, voting. What's voting? Oh yeah, so at the end of the round, you can vote on like what mode you want. So I'm actually just going to run that one and get rid of some of that code that's laying around. That's something that's important when you're doing agentic coding. Like you kind of assume that there's going to be old code laying around that it didn't clean up. And so you have to kind of like just kick off prompts to clean up old code that maybe, your business logic or your game has changed and you need to make sure that gets deleted. So let's go back over here. My repo, because I want to make sure that I at least tag main right now, because I am going to pivot on what I currently have. So I'll make a release. Well, I need to make a tag, and I'll just call it like v wave based. Original wave based. How about that? Create a new tag off of main, and then I'm creating a snapshot of the game when I used to have a wave based survival multiplayer game before pivoting to an RPG. Okay, just go ahead and do that. So we have it kind of locked down of like, if I ever want to go back to the first iteration of Survive the Night, it's there. It's documented, it's stuck there, so I can always go back to it if I need to. Let's go back to the game. Zoom out one. Okay, so what's it doing here? We have added the experience stuff. Open world zombie spawns. I'm gonna go ahead and build this out. And hopefully when a zombie gets killed, it'll go ahead and give them experience. Let's build that one out. This one looks like it's still kind of running. Removal of the wave system stuff. So I'm going to wait. I think we've done a lot of code changes. If you go and look at the diff here, we have like 100 uncommitted changes. So a lot of changes have been made. And I don't want to kind of do too much at once. So I want to verify this stuff before I just keep on iterating on it. Let's go back. I want to check what branch I'm on. I don't know how to actually do that in the new cursor mode. Oh, I'm on main. Okay, I'm on main right now. Okay. So we could probably hide panel, Command Shift B. Command B and Command Shift B. Those are the two shortcuts that I'm trying to learn. Again, I'm trying to get used to the new Agents Composer 3 feature. Because personally, I do think this is like how we should be coding. Like, I don't find myself actually loading up files anymore. Like, I just prompt Composer too fast to change stuff, because it's actually faster for this to just do it for me than it is for me to load up files. Even for like opening up a package JSON, like you could just have Composer do it and it just runs fast enough. Okay, it looks like the zombie spawn mechanism is kind of done as well. All right, and now the wave system refactoring to pull all that wave stuff has been done. Let's hope this works. Let's go back to the application here and do a little refresh. And click join game. It shouldn't let us join the game unless we're signed in, so that's actually working. We could probably just try to log in as Google. Maybe I don't have that set up, so I'm actually just gonna have an account. I don't know if I have an account, so let's just say test at example.com. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so now I'm logged in. I have an account up here, and let's click join game and see what happens. So game login is not available. The game server could not issue a game session token. This usually means game server API key is not set in the website environment or does not match the game server's key. So I will have to go and check some .env files. I could probably just take this, and again, like we could just let's go to the login one, which I believe was this one. Oh no, it's this one. Okay, so I'm gonna paste this in. Go ahead and look through my .env files and just make sure that these are consistent, and if not, debug and try to figure out why this is happening. Oh, it even says here, set up the local game server API key in the website and game server environment. The website must also have a game auth. So there's nothing really in my .env files that are like sensitive, so I'm just gonna let the agent kind of like modify those on an actual like application that you have in production. Hopefully your .env file doesn't have production keys in it anyway, which you could just allow it to do. But let's see if it's going to ask for permission or is it going to go through and like modify those things. So let's see. Now I'm going to read through this. I'm like, it seems like it's getting kind of confused about like what the issue could be. Because this seems like it's already defined in my .env file. Here's what I found is going on. What you changed. Website env is present. Game server.env was empty. So the game server still used ABC when the environment env does. Actual issue, the website server code is not seeing .env. Game auth token uses process env game server API key. I kind of wonder, why is there a game server API key? You know, it's like, if this is something that's public, let me ask this. Why is there a game server API key anyway? It seems like that the client has to know about it, which, does that even make sense? I wonder if I have API endpoints that the client is like invoking, and those API endpoints know about the API key, and so that's kind of like the security behind that. Let's check this out. The client does not know the game server API key. The website BetterAuth provides user is, signs it using game server API key and returns that token string to the browser. Game server on web client takes the token. Yeah, I'm going to restart my app. Maybe it just needs to be like refreshed so I can actually pick up those changes. Seems like that might have been the issue. Now this is something I would probably want to go through and just read through the code to make sure that it is secure. I'm kind of concerned about that, but we got to make progress, right? We got to keep pushing through on a game that doesn't really matter if it has security at this point. So you can see over here, we got the experience bar. Now at some point, should this be better up here to the right? I don't know. I'll play around with where this needs to be. I want to make sure that there's zombies, and when I kill them, I should see my experience bar go up, and it doesn't. So that's the first thing we should probably fix. I'm going to go back to experience leveling. When I kill a zombie, I did not see the experience bar increase in value. Can you verify that that is properly refreshing when the state's updated? And also verify that we do update the state on zombie death so we can award experience to the player who killed the zombie. And it did actually persist it. I noticed that when I refresh the page, it shows the right amount of experience. So it's probably just a UI type of thing where the event emitter that I have when a zombie dies, it probably just needs to be bounded to somewhere in the client so the client knows to refresh. And I could probably stop it so that it has more context. In fact, I'll actually stop it. And I'm going to go back up here. I noticed that when I hard refreshed the UI after killing a zombie, the experience bar has the proper state. So again, stop what I was doing because I was still trying to like figure out what's going on. And then I'm going to reprompt it so it has more clear direction about context. And then I have more confidence that what this is going to output is going to be accurate. Okay, identifying the issue on zombie death returns early when get entity by ID is null. The zombie is often removed from the client state before the death event is even processed. So we never reach add local experience. Okay, so it looks like there was some type of like logic that was returning earlier and the experience was not being rewarded. So we're going to go back and just try it again. It still didn't update. All right, so there's some options. Let's look through here on zombie death. Let's like actually look at the code. So when a zombie dies, add local kill experience. Yeah, I don't like how this is working. So I'm actually going to refresh this. Where we are storing the player's experience should be on the player entity on the server, which means this should automatically sync over on game state updates. And then that should automatically update in the UI. I don't think we should be adding local kill experience on zombie death events. We should actually wait for the server to have the authoritative event so that I know to update my UI when that is properly updated. Okay, so I'm wondering where it's actually storing this stuff. Like, is the state actually being stored somewhere that is syncing properly? Let's see, moving experience to the server player entity and driving the HUD from synced game state. Yeah, so the original prompt, I think it was just like doing this client side maybe, and it wasn't actually persisting it to the server. Well, that doesn't make sense. It is persisting it because obviously when I refreshed, like it was still there. And if I went and opened up my database, I bet you my user would have an experience on it now. So yeah, we'll have to kind of figure out what's going on there. Look at kill tracker. What's this code doing? Kill tracker handles zombie killed. This is a server side service, which I guess is listening. Like what's calling this? I would want to know what's calling this. Handle zombie killed bind on event bus on zombie killed. So this is the kill tracker listening on the event bus, which is global for the server. So yeah, I think this is fine. All right, this is done. Let's try it again. All right, there we go. That updated correctly. All right, we leveled up, and now the experience has been increased a little bit. So the one issue is when I actually like refresh and load the game, I'm noticing that I'm not getting my actual up-to-date experience. So that's something else we're gonna have to prompt here. When I first join the game, I'm noticing that my experience is not properly loaded from the backend. Can you make sure that we fetch the user's stats information and populate their user entity so that properly gets synced over to the UI? Now, I will say I'm still trying to get used to this new view for Composer 3. It's a completely different paradigm shift of how like we code. Stuff is basically moved around. It's still like VS Code under the hood, as you can tell, like same shortcuts to do like search all and stuff and, you know, browsing your files. But this is definitely like the default most important state, which is like viewing your git diff and your changes. And it's a little bit different than how it used to work with the other view. By the way, if you ever want to switch back to the other view, I don't know if you guys are still even watching this long in the video, but you can go up here and click Open Editor Window. And that's going to change it back to the traditional view, which honestly, I'm missing it a little bit, but I'm trying to force myself to try this new approach and see how it changes my workflows, because I think it will change my workflows a little bit. And I'm at level 2 now, so that looks like it got persisted, spawn a zombie. Yeah, seems like it's working. I notice I want to pick up coins. There's a lot of things I'm picking up that just aren't showing in my inventory. So that's another thing we'll have to fix, but we're going to commit all those changes. Now we actually have a way to at least track experience and award experience when zombies are killed or things are killed, right? Now, I got 130 uncommitted changes. So I'm actually just going to commit this. I don't want to create branch and commit. I just want to commit and push. We can just go ahead and let it figure out what to use for the commit message for us. And then we can actually just start a new agent, I believe. So let's just go over here, start a new agent. And what are some things we want to change? The inventory system. So I did do refactoring of how the inventory works. Some things show up in the inventory. Other things don't. So like the wood, the coins, I think cloth is not showing up. Let me see if I can find some cloth, spawn cloth. Yeah, those don't even show up in the inventory as stackable items. So I'm going to go back and we're going to prompt. I noticed that when I pick up the wood, the cloth, or coins, they don't show up as stacked items in my inventory. Can you go through and make sure that those work properly? Now, I will do a plan mode for this because I found this doing a plan mode makes it more accurate. It seems like the agent thinks a little bit harder and it's able to cross-reference things and it just is more successful. I could have probably not used a plan mode, honestly, and it probably would have worked. I think this is a small enough thing that like it could have figured out. But the plan mode also gives you a chance to just read through and understand the code. It's kind of teaching you the code as it's like diving through it and trying to understand it. So that's kind of why I chose that approach, but we'll see. Now I do notice that my like chat panel is actually like truncated on my screen recording, so I'll have to figure out a different approach for like being able to properly record that. But for right now, just know that the chat that you're seeing down here, I'm going to describe what I'm doing, so it should be easy to follow. So fix wood, cloth, and coin showing us stacked resources, what's going on, pick up path. Wood, cloth, call player to add resource, and remove the entity, no inventory. Why not move wood, cloth into real bag slots without larger? Yeah, so I think the issue is that we have like two separate places that we store information. We store it in the inventory, but we also store it in a resource bag. And a lot of the crafting was based around looking into both of those. So I think what we actually need to do, inventories and resources stack. I actually want to get rid of the resource bag. I want everything that is pick upable in this game to just be an inventory item. So refactor these things, these resources, and change them to be inventory items, and then refactor any code that was using that resource bag or the resources for crafting to instead just look through the inventory to find those items and decrement them if they are used for crafting anything. Okay, so I'm gonna kick off that second iteration on my plan because I'm noticing that in the code a little bit of stuff needs to change, right? There's probably a bunch of other places as well, like in the HUD. I think there's areas where it's trying to load from the resource bag. But hopefully I've done a decent amount of abstraction so that it's not needing to refactor everything. It should be able to just change the internal implementation details of some of these things and just like have it swap out to where it needs to go. But we'll see. All right, so here's the update. It's basically going to refactor the recipes, server inventory helpers, add or merge tag, remove resource bag. Okay, I think this should be good. Let's just go ahead and build this. And this might take a while. This is a pretty big plan. So we'll have to come through, and after it finishes all the to-dos, we'll verify it. Now, I noticed I was getting zapped by lightning. That's something that was left over from the other branch that I think we could actually start planning to remove that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say, I noticed that I'm still getting shocked by lightning. Can you go through and remove the code that has in-game events like lightning and also the toxic gas? And if there's anything else as well, you can just go ahead and remove those. I don't really want them in the game right now. All right, some questions. Let's see. Battle Royale has its own shrinking toxic rings. Do you want the Battle Royale arena shrink toxic ring number 2? Yes, I want it removed from everything. There should not even be game modes. So when you say Battle Royale, that's also something that needs to be removed. There's no game modes anymore. There's no waves or Battle Royale or survival. The game modes and the game events, remove them all. I just want an RPG game. Yeah, so I think there's still a bunch of stuff in my code base that needs to get removed because it's going to confuse the agents. And I was on the other branch, I was like iterating, trying to add game modes, trying to add cool in-game events that randomly happen, like toxic gas clouds that would kind of traverse the map and poison you. A bunch of other stuff like that. But at this point, I need to remove it because I just don't feel like that's the direction I want to go anymore in this game. And also I need to remove the modes. Like I had 3 different game modes that were kind of fun. Those need to get removed as well. All right, this plan is done. What you have today, we have environmental events, game modes, toxic gameplay, Battle Royale infection mode. I thought there was another mode that we had. There's infection, Battle Royale. I think this is good for right now. I'll probably just go ahead and tell it to remove it, but I do think it missed maybe one of my game modes. I don't know. It's been like 4 months since I've touched this game. All right, that one took a while. We have over 6,000 lines of code that have been removed, so that's pretty crazy. I'd be surprised if this actually works, but let's see. Looks like there is an error in the console. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab this. I think I just forgot some stuff. Paste in this error, and it should be able to fix it. And I'm going to verify the inventory items are able to be picked up. You can still drop them. That's good. What was the last one? The coins or something? All right, I think this is pretty good. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and just commit this. I've been recording for a while. But overall, I mean, I think we have 6,000 lines of code deleted. Got rid of a lot of the old stuff that I don't think we need. And yeah, I'll just go ahead and commit this. And maybe I'll keep making videos on this. I really enjoy working on games and like building games. I just know no one watches my channel when I do the game stuff. But at this point, I need to find stuff that I enjoy doing and that I find joy in, regardless of if it gets views, right? And I'll just share the process along the way, and hopefully you guys can learn from it. All right, have a good day, and happy coding.